All right, so let's go ahead and get started on the demo. So I'm actually going to do a little bit of skincare prep first. So I have 2 of the eye creams that will be featured. These are just little samples. So I have the Clarins Total Eye Lift. So I will just show you the texture of these. I think I might have actually forgotten to apply eye cream earlier now that I think of it. And this is the Believe Moisturizing Eye Balm. So this is kind of a little bit more of a gel texture, I would say. So if you want something a little bit more lightweight, if you tend to get milia around the eyes, you might be interested in that. So putting the Belief underneath this eye, and I always go across the eyelid as well. I think the Clarins does have a scent to it. I'd have to double check to see whether it has fragrance. But it does kind of have like a citrusy scent. So I don't notice a huge difference in like hydration levels or anything like that, but any excess I usually just go ahead and take down onto my cheeks because this area of my face tends to be on the dry side as well. Okay, so usually I do that as part of my normal skincare routine. Sometimes if I feel like my under eyes are exceptionally dry, I will go in with additional eye cream, or if I'm using under eye patches as part of my eyeshadow application, then that helps hydrate as well. Okay, so this is my Thorn Oil, which I'm going to be using as a primer and mixing it up so it's a little bit more kind of evenly distributed. And then I also have the Too Faced Hangover RX Primer. This is the 20 ml or 0.68 fluid ounce size. I'm not sure if it comes in different sizes, but this is, there's a little bit of kind of product built up in the cap, but it's a pretty lightweight primer, I would say. Doesn't really have much of a smell. So this is kind of like a light lotiony type texture. And for the Thorn Oil, as the name would suggest, it's more of an oil. And as I probably indicated, this is one of Teresa Is Dead's favorite products. I just watched her kind of video about the 21 Days of Beauty earlier today. So that is kind of the difference in texture. I know the Smashbox primer is also on sale, but that is not a product I am, I guess, particularly fond of. It's been around forever, so chances are you know if you like it or not at this point. If you've had an opportunity to try it, you've probably gotten a sample of it somehow or other. All right, so that's the Too Faced. I have my Ilios mirror on this side, so the reflection is going to be a little bit kind of uneven. And personally, I don't like to apply oils and such like this, but I know it's kind of the more dramatic way to show it. So I think it might have like a light rose scent. I think that's maybe why they have the name Thorn Oil, is that it has like rose ingredients. I think you can tell it looks a little bit more hydrated on the Thorn Oil side. So this one doesn't have any kind of shimmer or anything. So I'm just going to kind of rub that into my hands, and then I think this is the side that had the Too Faced. So I just want to kind of even out the hydration level. And obviously, because I'm so fair, when I like rub my face, it tends to flush. So it does end up looking a little bit red. So while I'm doing this, I am going to go ahead and apply the NARS Lip Balm, which is tinted. And the only shade I have that Ulta has on their website is the shade Orgasm. I like to apply some kind of lip oil, lip product while I'm getting ready. So as you can see, not a lot of pigment at all. I'll swatch it on my other hand that I didn't put the primer on, just to kind of, as you can see, like very faint pigment there. So if you really want just kind of an easy throw it on without a mirror type product, they are really comfortable feels really moisturizing. So it just kind of depends what you are looking for. All right, so next up is a product that is not in the sale. Its companion product is though. So I wanted to try out the Clinique Even Better All Over Primer and Color Corrector. This is in the shade Peach. I was just watching an episode of League of Their Own on Prime. So the name kind of made me chuckle a little bit. So I did get this from Ulta. I think it was actually a gift with purchase as part of the, I think whatever their last kind of like diamond, whatever sale was. Usually like the first Monday of every month. They have some kind of dedicated sale where there are, you know, various deals and gifts with purchase and that kind of thing. So this is the same type of component as the concealer, and then it has this kind of sponge tip. I don't think this is removable, however, so I'm kind of, I guess, reluctant to use it. This is the lightest shade that this comes in. I think it comes in a few different shades. And it's definitely, I think, on the darker side compared to some of my other correctors. For example, this has been my go-to corrector, the Charlotte Tilbury. I've used the Tarte color corrector. I think the Charlotte Tilbury one comes in about 4 different shades. So that is like the Charlotte Tilbury, and I think even just compared to my face, you can kind of see difference there. I've also tried the, definitely, it's also just, I think, more pigmented. It just seems to have a thicker formulation. I've tried the new Bobbi Brown stick corrector. I've tried the NARS one. So I have definitely tried my kind of fair share. I like the idea of a corrector with a doe foot because it can just be a little bit easier to apply. But as of yet, I haven't found one that is not in a pot that really works for me. So you can see I did blend that out, but this is definitely not a product I would just wear by itself. Okay, so for foundation, we have the Tarte Shape Tape Cloud Coverage in the shade 12N Fair Neutral, and I will swatch these on my hand. So I have a dedicated review video for this product. And then we also have the Anastasia foundation in the shade 130N. Just give it a good shake, make sure it's well mixed. And then the other foundation that I have is the Estee Lauder Futurist Hydra Rescue. And I have it in 2 shades because I originally purchased one and I thought it was too dark. So the shade I originally, you can see me as I'm moving my hand, that Anastasia foundation is really kind of running away. But yeah, this is the shade 1N2 Ecru, and this comes in like a squeezy tube with a pump, same as the Tarte Shape Tape. The Anastasia has like a glass bottle with a pump. So yeah, originally I purchased the shade 1N2 Ecru, and then probably during the last 21 days or the sale before that, I purchased the lightest shade, which is 1N0 in Porcelain. Pretty sure this is the lightest shade anyway. All right, so this is also pretty liquidy. It's a little hard to kind of, for a more liquidy, yeah, see this one is not very well mixed. For a more liquidy product in a squeeze tube, it's a little hard to make sure it's well mixed. I'm going to go ahead and just kind of blend these out a little bit. So we have up at the top, you can just see the texture of that Tarte. It's much more kind of moussey. So that's probably the best shade match, to be honest, the Tarte. And then we have the Anastasia in this corner, the Estee Lauder in 1N2, I believe it was, Ecru. And then this is 1N0 Porcelain. So I might turn that off. Okay, so I just turned off the Ilios mirror and readjusted the white balance just so you get, you know, as close a read of the color as possible. I probably used the shade Ecru in a video. I'm not sure if I ever used the shade Porcelain. And I think I filmed like a kind of full face of Anastasia video where I used that shade. So I might go ahead and use the shade Porcelain here, is what I'm thinking. So some other good shade matches for me as I'm kind of setting up here. I always mention the Makeup Forever Reboot in R208. The new NARS Light Reflecting in Oslo is a good match. And like for more drugstore options, I think the ColourPop Pretty Fresh in Fair 20N is a good match. Okay, so that is how much I have kind of distributed, and I'm using a damp beauty blender. They do have a beauty blender in the sale, but it is a slightly different type of beauty blender. It's like some kind of, I'm not sure, like plant derived type material. Okay, so that is about 1/2 of my face, and yeah, I think it still looks a little yellow on me, but we are, I think, just gonna go with it at this point. But you can see the level of coverage. So I have 2 neutral shades. There's a YouTuber called Geek Out of Water who does a lot of excellent foundation reviews, and she is a little bit less fair compared to me, and I think she always mentions 1C1 Cool Bone and Estee Lauder products as, you know, being her match. So I didn't select that. I don't know how kind of shade flexible this foundation is really, but obviously this undertone is maybe not the best. It has a nice finish, but I think I just never really kind of stuck with it because I think I need something a little bit more pink maybe. And I do have kind of a very dewy base, and I am applying a very dewy foundation on top of it. So I guess that is a good thing given the powder I'm going to be using. Yeah, the other shades I mentioned, the Tarte Shape Tape is 12N Fair Neutral. That is the lightest shade. The ABH foundation in 130N was very fair with a neutral pink undertone. That's not the lightest shade. They also have 100N, which is very fair with a neutral undertone, and 110C, which is very fair with a cool undertone. And then 120W is very fair with a warm undertone. So if you do have any questions about shade matching, I will try to direct you as best I can. All right, let's talk about the concealer. So I have the Clinique Even Better All Over Concealer and Eraser in CN02 Breeze. This is supposed to be very fair with cool neutral undertones. And I'm not sure if this is the lightest shade or not. But I believe when I was wearing the Super Balanced foundation like 10 years ago, Breeze was my shade. So this was probably another like freebie or something. So it's very creamy. I think, you know, given the foundation shade, this isn't a bad color. I'm not sure if it would look as good with maybe a better match, but you can see it has a good amount of coverage there. I'm gonna see how it does just kind of blending out with the brush. And having kind of a heavier corrector does help in some ways because it does a lot of the work of canceling out dark circles. So it looks like the brush did a good job with blending that out. All right, so I didn't see any contour products in the sale. There is a bronzer, but not contour. So I'm just going to quickly do my normal contouring. I like to use the Fenty Matchstick kind of on the nose here, just because it's super precise. And then for the cheeks and the jaw, I like to use the KVD Gel Contour. And usually this helps a bit in terms of blending my foundation. So Ulta sells both of these products, but they won't be in this sale, but you can purchase them there. All right, so Decay 101 brush. You can see that just kind of helps things blend a little bit. This is a cool contour shade, but I think it still adds a little bit of warmth. And then I'll just take this tip here and just kind of use that on the nose. All right, so let's go ahead and powder. All right, so the powder I have is this Dermablend Loose Setting Powder. This is just like a little sample. And I can't say I've ever used this. I think this is supposed to be quite mattifying though. Just using my tweezers to try and remove this label. So putting the cap back on and making sure. I'm not sure what the full-size packaging looks like, so I can only speak to, I guess, the performance of the powder and not kind of how it dispenses. Okay, so let's go in underneath the eyes. And it's actually not really creasing, which is a little surprising given the, I guess the amount of product I put on and everything being super moisturized. Okay, so I'm just using this Say brush. I think it definitely, took down some of the shine. I'm just trying to kind of, in a way, get it in the brush and not have too much. Which one did I just powder? And I can even just take what's on my hand already. So yeah, so you can see the difference on my forehead there. Like, it's definitely taken down some of the shine, but it's not completely matte. All right, and I do plan to apply powder blush. You can also just kind of try and tap off any excess like that. So far, you know, it's not exactly what I expected. I thought it was going to be like super, I don't know, kind of cakey, mattifying, but it's not bad. And a lot of times, like, if I had a bigger container, I'd probably use a bigger brush, like a fluffier brush. Lately, I've really liked using this one just because it, you know, you can kind of swirl and then. So I guess my bottom line is it's not bad. I don't know if that's helpful to anyone. I wouldn't say I'm like an expert on loose powders, but if, you know, the price is attractive to you, it might be worth looking into. Yeah, so they claim it's the ultimate step to lock in makeup for up to 16 hours of smudge and transfer resistant wear and mattify complexion. Okay, so next up I have the Benefit Precisely My Brow. So I have the full size in the shade 2.5, which is Neutral Blonde, which looks like so. And then I also have some samples of 3, which is Warm Light Brown. So full-size packaging is definitely more fun. I think it's meant to look like an arrow. Oh, okay. So this just twists up. There's no like cap or anything, which is interesting. So this is the shade 3, which is Warm Light Brown. not the biggest difference. And then we also have a very small little sample, and this is in the shade 4, which is Warm Deep Brown. I mean, they all feel pretty stiff. Let me just kind of add a little bit more so you can see the color a little bit better. So in full disclosure, I am not a big brow person. I feel like I only kind of pull out these types of products for a video. Normally I just like the like a tinted brow gel. So I like the Benefit Gimme Brow. I like the Kosas one. There's some APH ones I've tried that I've enjoyed. So I think I'm pretty lucky in that I don't feel like my brows need a lot of filling in. They just kind of need to be tamed. And when I am wearing more makeup, usually I will just want to kind of darken them or give them a little bit more life. All right, so that is the Benefit Precisely My Brow. I might still go in with a brow gel, but we'll play that by ear. Okay, so let's do bronzer next. So I only have one bronzer that's gonna be on sale, and this is an older packaging. It's not the same packaging that will be in the sale, but this is the Tarte Park Avenue Princess. They seem to have two different types of packaging. That is kind of what it looks like. So it's a shimmery bronzer, which is not usually what I go for. So that is what bronzer looks like. And again, I have pretty light skin. And this is the Refer 22 brush, which is my favorite bronzer brush because I feel like I can kind of really load up a large surface area and then just kind of pounce it on. I'm not sure if Refer is still doing their like buy one get one 50% off sale or whatever they were doing. It's a little hard to do the makeup just using kind of my filming lighting and not having like dedicated makeup lighting. So hopefully I got that even. All right, so here are some swatches before I get into discussing the format and everything. So this first shade is Blissful. That is a bright rose. The next shade is Blushing Bride, and that is a rosy pink. You can see the sparkle in that shade. Next one is Exposed. That is a nude pink. Then we have Natural Beauty. That was a matte rosy red. Next up we have Peaceful. That is a shimmery soft nude peach. And finally we have Seduce, which is a rosy nude. So Seduce and Exposed are fairly similar in shade, but you do get a lot more pigment with this Seduce shade. That was basically one pass, whereas I had to kind of work to build this one up a little bit. You can see there's definitely a mix of finishes and intensities. These two shades are probably too dark for me. I can't say I've worn them that much. And I did go in a little hard on the pan to kind of pick up the pigment because blushes are a little harder to swatch than eyeshadows. But these were just kind of one swipe on the arm, whereas these two were a couple passes. So those are probably more fair skin friendly, but it's great that Tarte has those shades with that more intense pigment level for deeper complexions. So I did want to just kind of note a few things here. So I think this is the older style of the Tarte packaging. I believe they are currently going to look like this with the gold kind of raised lettering, but they have basically kept the same form factor. And these you open and they contain a mirror. And one thing that Tarte has been doing for as long as I've basically been purchasing Tarte blushes is that these pans are removable. So if you just take a little pin, there's a hole on the back, and you can just, there's a sticker on it, but you can just kind of pop it through like so. That is what the pan looks like. So I did want to mention, I think the first shade that I swatched was Blissful, where I said I had to kind of go in on it. But you can tell that these are not like very powdery at all. So if you are not a fan of kick up or anything in your blushes, I think these are meant to be waterproof. This is the shade Blissful again. So I would say, especially if you have like oily skin and you are concerned with your blush fading, I think they're definitely a good product to look into. This, I think, is how they are currently being packaged. I could be wrong, but this has like a clear plastic and like some kind of paper insert there. But anyway, one thing I've done with various blushes, so these are kind of in addition to most of the ones I swatched. So you can see I've depotted a lot of them, and I just took a wet erase marker on the top of this Z palette to mark the 2 blushes that Ulta has. But yeah, there was a time when I definitely relied on this pretty heavily, and you can tell there's really not a lot of like powder or anything. This shade up here, which I think is called Doll Face, you can see the embossment is worn down quite a bit. I think that would have been my like go-to shade that I was using for a while. So yeah, so they are not a powdery formula, and it is nice that if you do have a tendency to collect them, you can pop them into a magnetic palette, and that way you have a variety of different shades available to you whenever you want. Okay, so now I have to actually apply one to my face, don't I? I think I want to do exposed, just to have something a little bit more neutral. So I'm going to use my rougher number 5 brush, which obviously is not clean, but so obviously if I were going in with one of the more pigmented blushes, I would probably use like a duo fiber brush, or just try to go in with a lighter hand. All right, and while we're talking about Tarte, they also have the Shape Tape Glow Wand that's going to be in the sale. So this is kind of like a liquid highlighter. I have it in the shade Sunbeam. There are a multitude of different shades. So that's what it looks like on my skin. The thing I don't particularly care for about this product is that I think it still remains a little bit tacky after you apply it, the kind of thing where your hair gets stuck in it. So it's not my favorite formula, to be honest. I think I know I used it at least in the like Tarte Shape Tape Cloud coverage video because I rewatched that one. But yeah, I think I'm gonna skip on this one. All right, I'm gonna reapply this NARS. Obviously I'm talking, but I've also been, you know, drinking my water in between talking about products, so it just kind of wears off. Okay, let's talk about some highlighters. So we are resurrecting the Becca highlighters from the grave here. So I pulled out the Becca highlighters that I have that are in the sale. I don't know if they've changed this packaging, because I know the Corrector has like a Smashbox logo on the inside, but I don't know about this one. So I have 3 of the shades, I believe. So we have Champagne Pop, of course. And I still have like the old Becca versions here. So, you know, they're not fresh necessarily. But we have Champagne Pop, which is probably a little dark and a little yellow for me. I also have Opal. This is like a mini size. Sometimes these the Becca packaging gets a little, you know, that kind of sticky tackiness, kind of like the NARS. So that's Opal. And then finally I have Moonstone. I thought I might have had rose quartz. I think I was confusing it with rose gold maybe. So I was looking at swatches online, and I don't think I ever owned rose quartz, but it does look like it's a pretty light pink type icy highlight. So that's Moonstone. I might try Moonstone and Opal. I mean, I'm not going anywhere, so it doesn't really matter if my my highlighter looks odd. Okay, so let's try Moonstone using my Anastasia A23 brush. And these do have a little mirror in the compact. They do kind of kick up a bit. I don't know if that's just, you know, the age of mine. So that is Moonstone, very pretty. So yeah, so I think I was saying the rose quartz looks really pretty, but I mean, do I really need to buy another highlighter? Probably not. Yeah, I think I prefer Moonstone. I think the undertone is a little bit more flattering. So I'm just gonna go in, try and blend this a bit. I think this is the type of highlighter that will emphasize texture. But if you've been, I'm just gonna try and even them out a bit now. If you've been following makeup videos for any length of time, you are probably pretty familiar with the Becca highlighters. I think I'm actually going to go in with the Peaceful shade now. Sorry if you can hear vacuuming or whatever my husband is doing in the other room. Just to kind of try to blend a little bit more, because I think this Peaceful shade has a bit of shimmer to it. This is really taking me back to, like, I don't know, 2018, 2019 YouTube. All right, so that's my hot take on the Becca / Smashbox highlighters that have been out for years and then resurrected. So, all right, so next up I'm going to the eye. So I have two of these Urban Decay eyeshadow primers. These are both little samples. So they have the OG and the anti-aging version. So just go ahead and show you what these look like. Lately I've been using the Fenty eye primer, which I like. That one seems to have a little bit more of a liquidy texture. These are a little bit thicker, and I think they used to have like doe foots. I'm not sure if the full sizes have doe foots now. There's a slight shade difference there, which is interesting. I was gonna use one on one lid and one on the other, but I think I'll just use one shade. But anyway, I used to use this pretty reliably, and if it wasn't this, it was one of the tinted versions like Sin. I did just break this out again the other day after kind of Ulta announced the items that were going to be on sale. So I did put it to the test with some ColourPop shadows. I mean, it doesn't actually show that much of a color. Maybe I'll just use the anti-aging on the other eyelid. So they held up perfectly fine. So I think this anti-aging formula, which I haven't done any kind of weird test with recently anyway, it's supposed to be better for kind of like smoothing out eyelids, that kind of thing, texture. So once you get it on the lids, it really doesn't kind of read much as color at all. Okay, and then going into, I think the only eyeshadow palette in the sale, this is upside down. This is the LORAC Meraki maybe. So if you haven't checked out LORAC's new formula, I highly recommend it. I kept it in the box in part because they have these little like keys included, so make sure that you don't toss the box. There's this like insert that would be alongside the palette, and they have these little metal keys that you can use to pop out shadows. So it's very cute, very kind of interesting idea. So this is the palette, and you know, based on the photos, it's probably not as big as you think it is. What's a good comparison here? Okay, so this is a kind of standard, I guess, 9 pan from ColourPop. So you can see, I mean, it is bigger, but not by much. And this does have quite a few more shades, so you might think it is bigger. So you get a total of 25 shades in this palette. And I've talked about this type of format in various videos. I haven't filmed a swatch video of this one in particular, but you do get a mirror that has a sticker I just never took off until now. So those are the shades, and they're kind of like taped over the shades themselves. And you know, you can keep it up like that, but they're not actually printed on the palette itself. And then this part actually tips forward, and you can see all the holes there on the back where you would use this little guy or a pin or whatever if you lose it. So what you would do is take the pin and just push it through, and then out pops your little pan. So these palettes are pretty compact by themselves, but you know, if you wanted to rearrange them or combine them with other LORAC palettes, you could. I mean, the palettes are pretty compact to begin with. Like I said, like it's a pretty small palette, but you're getting 25 shades. Anyway, interesting kind of packaging here from LORAC. And if you are familiar with their old Pro palettes, I think they've upgraded the formula a little bit. I'm going to go into this cream shade with the Sigma brush all over the lid. I think I might try to go a little bit purpley here. So this shade here is called Mauve, going in with a Sonia G mini booster. Probably could have used a bigger brush for that shade, actually. I'll just go in with this MAC 224 in the same shade. Sometimes I like to start with a smaller brush until I kind of get a sense for how pigmented a shade is, or you know, how deep it reads. And then I think going back to the mini booster, going into that Dusty Plum shade next to it. All right, and then going back with the MAC brush in that mauve shade over top. Just to make sure everything is nice and blended. You can see, like, when I'm brushing it, you know, getting the brush into my eyebrow hairs, they're kind of going a bit wild. Which is one reason why I like to use a gel. Okay, I think that's decently blended. I think I want to start in with this shade Champagne, which looks like it might be kind of venturing into the pink champagne territory. Can feel some fallout, I think. So one thing I like about this new formula is that a lot of the shades are a little bit more of that kind of thicker, foily texture. If that is not your preferred eyeshadow formula, you might want to, you know, think about whether you would enjoy this palette. But and I like to kind of get maybe the outline of the shade and kind of make sure I have a good coverage level, and then go in with my finger to kind of amp up the intensity. All right, I want to swatch a couple shades before I apply anything to the outer corner. So this is 3 Dimension Brown Sugar, and I guess I'll just do Rosé. think I said 3 Dimension, Brown Sugar, and Rosé. I think I'm gonna go with Brown Sugar. I think that's the coolest, like, taupier type shade that I swatched. So that is that shade right there. I kind of wish they had a deeper metallic plum, but oh well. So if you are a neutral lover, I think, you know, these palettes are nice because it's a pretty muted color story. But you can definitely get some variety of tones instead of it just being strictly brown, she says as she applies the Brown Sugar shade. So yeah, really pretty. I think I'm just going to take this Jumbo Blender from Sonia G, and I'm gonna go back into that cream shade and just kind of highlight the brow a little bit and just go around the very edges just to make sure everything's blended. And then I'm going to take my finger and go back into that champagne shade. And then just for fun, I think I'm going to take my Rephr number 26 brush and go into this cashmere shade, like on the inner corner. Just a nice bit of inner corner highlight. And then often what I do, and usually it's to prevent creasing, but you know, my under eyes are not actually creasing that badly. I'm gonna take my flat definer from Sonia G and go back into that mauve shade, I think, and just run this right under the lower lash line. You can also do this with like a cream shade or your face powder. But when I use a kind of, you know, light transition or crease color, in addition to providing some definition, it also, I think, helps some of those under eye creases from forming. Okay, so because I do plan to use some of the Glamnetic magnetic lashes, I am going to use their liquid eyeliner that's magnetic. And interestingly enough, the lashes are in the sale, but I didn't see like the liner or anything that you need to be able to use the lashes. And I suppose you don't need to use the Glamnetic brand or anything. You can see it's kind of bleeding a little bit. This isn't like a brand new. I know I've used this before, and honestly I do prefer it to the version of their liner that I first tried. Okay. As I've said many a time before, I'm neither a liquid eyeliner nor a lashes expert. All right, so obviously that happened, but I am trying to be kind of generous with the size of the line, because you know, you want the magnets to have enough to stick to. And I do have hooded lids, so all right, let's use another product here that I have. Why not? So this is the Lancome Bifacile Makeup Remover, and I'm going to take just like a little Q-tip. I shook it up because it's a biface. So I'm just kind of dipping it and trying to remove any excess. So obviously that wasn't ideal, but let's just go back into my eyeshadow palette, and I think it was this champagne shade. I'm using a different brush. Okay, I think that looks better anyway. You can see this one is starting to... All right, so for mascara, I have the MAC Magic Extension Mascara, which is a fiber mascara, so it's not really my favorite type of mascara. I always feel like the fibers are gonna get stuck in my eye, but you know, we're going with it. I'm not sure, to be honest, how long I've had this sample. I don't think I've used it, but it does look a little dry. Normally I always, it's a really nice smell to it. I don't know what it is, but I like that smell of products. Okay, so using my rougher lash curlers, and it's always fun when you do this with metal lash curlers and magnetic liner, because sometimes the eyelid wants to kind of stick to the eyelash curler if you get them too close. Okay, so let's see how this does. The wand is on the smaller side, which I like. It's kind of long, but it's not super fat. Yeah, I have a feeling this mascara is a bit dried out, but we're going to apply lashes on top anyway, so. The other mascaras that are in the sale, I think I've either talked about or they're pretty common, pretty well known. There's like the It Cosmetics Superhero, Lancome Monsieur Big, both in the regular and the waterproof. Clinique High Impact. I am curious to try the new Tarte mascara, although it hasn't gotten super great reviews, partly just because I have it in the back of my mind to film a complete overview of the Tarte mascaras, so that would be one that I don't have. All right, so I have my little Tarte lash applicators here, but a lot of different brands do those. And as is fitting for Virgo season, I have the Glamnetic Virgo Magnetic Lashes. One thing I do really like about magnetic lashes is that they're very easy to just pop back onto the package because there's like a metal band or whatever that they stick to. I think the current packaging looks a bit different. I think I got these particular ones in some kind of subscription box, and they came with a glue that I didn't actually care for. I mean, the packaging is a little bit different, but I think the lashes are the same. They're not wanting to stick. Like having fuzzy caterpillars on your eye all of a sudden. So yeah, so I like magnetic lashes in theory. I'm not a huge lash wearer generally. I mean, I kind of break them out from time to time, but if you have a glue that you really like, let me know. Or a liner, I should say. Okay. I think they're on well enough for the purposes of this video. I don't know that I would trust these to stay on all day or anything. Sometimes a pair of disposable lashes is the way to go. All right, so that was it for, yeah, can feel this one lifting up.
All right, good enough. I'm not sure how long those will stay on, but anyway. I think, is it lipstick is the only thing that's left? And then talking about skincare and fragrance. All right, so I have 4 matte shades. I have Chili, which is a brownish orange red. So that's Chili. We have Kinda Sexy, which is a neutral pinky rose. Looks like so. We have Lady Danger, which is a vivid bright coral red. And I keep them in the packaging because they already have like the color indicator, so it's just kind of easier to see. I think I probably purchased this for the video I did about different like red lipsticks that have been featured in movies. I want to say that one is what Emma Stone wore in Cruella, and that is Russian Red. Okay. All right, and then for the satin formulas, I have 3 different shades. So I have Brave, which is a pink beige with white pearl satin. All right, and then I have, what is this? Mocha, which is a peachy yellow brown satin, and this is like in the mini size. Okay. And then finally we have Twig, which is a soft muted brownish pink satin. Might go for that one actually. That is that one right there. So those are the MAC lipsticks that I have. I'm not going to do lip swatches of all of them because that would just completely destroy my lips. All right, so this is the shade Twig. So just kind of your traditional lipstick really. I might put some of Brave on top. I think on the Ulta website these are listed as being cream, but they're the satin formula. All right, so that is it for the makeup application, and conveniently because I have swatches to remove, let's talk about skincare. All right, so a couple makeup removers first of all. So I already showed you a bit of this Lancome Bifacile, and you can see it's gradually starting to kind of separate again. I also have a sample of the Take the Day Off makeup remover for lids, lashes, and lips. And you can see this is also one that you have to shake. So go ahead and give it a good shake. And then I just have some like normal cotton pads. Oops, I'm spilling a bit. And it definitely does the job. All right, so wasn't quite enough mileage, I guess, in that one. So I'll just go ahead and use the other makeup remover. As I will probably say, I guess during the voiceover or whatever filmed portion I do, I like the Lancome. It's been a while since I've used this on my eyes, so I can't really speak to it as well. But I like the Lancome, but I think Sephora collection one is more cost effective even when the Lancome is on sale. So the Sephora is $16 for 6.76 ounces normally, and like during the Sephora VIB sale,
Usually the Sephora products are 30% off, so that's a great time to pick it up then. Okay, so I also have a couple of cleansers. So I have both the First Aid Beauty Face Cleanser and the Korres Foaming Cream Cleanser. If I had to choose one of these over the other, I would probably go with the Korres. I just find that it's a little bit, I don't know, gentler. So normally I only use these when I am using the Foreo, which I will talk about in a moment. But that is the Korres, and I'm doing this just on kind of like my dry hand. And this is the First Aid Beauty, which apparently did not have a seal on it. The First Aid Beauty Cleanser has a little bit of a pearlescence to it, whereas the Korres is a little bit of a more creamier texture. I don't know that that signifies anything, I just always found it interesting. So I'm just gonna spray it with some of this Maracuja Miracle Mist just to dampen them a bit. And it's always fun doing this kind of in front of your computer. So I'd say like the First Aid Beauty, it foams up a little bit more, I think, than the Korres, but neither is super foamy. And usually, okay, this lash is just hanging on for dear life. Okay. We tried, but I think I need a better lash glue. I mean, you can tell, like, they definitely stick to the band on the package, but and I think, you know, the prior time I used them, I think I might have had a little bit more luck. So I don't know if I just need to replace that liner. All right, let's do the same thing with this Clinique one now, since we have been forced to. And this is not how I normally remove, obviously, my eye makeup. I will take like a Shiseido cotton pad. And I'm sure when I do this, it's removing the primer as well. Kind of messes everything up there. All right, it's not perfect, but I think that's good enough. Okie dokie. Anyone watching Selena and Chef? I feel like I need to put a $1 in the jar or whatever. So normally with these cleansers, I use my Foreo. I have the Luna Mini 2. The Luna Mini 3 will be in the sale. And from what I can tell, the Luna Mini 3, at least one of the differences is that it doesn't have this different size at the tip. I don't know what difference that might make, but anyway, that was just the kind of one difference I noticed. All right, so this is kind of dried out a bit. So this is what I like to use. So it just kind of has this like sonic vibration type thing going on. So this is what I like to use if I want like a really kind of deep clean, if I have a lot of makeup on, that kind of thing. Not something I use all the time, but I do enjoy it, and I don't find that it's like overly aggressive or anything on my kind of more sensitive skin. So if you haven't tried a Foreo and you've been interested, now might be a good time. So the next category is eye cream, and I already talked about those two from Clarins and Belief. And then for like acne treatment products, I would recommend looking at the Zitstickas. I don't have any currently to show you, so I am planning to kind of stock up. The ones I like from Zitsticka are the ones that have those little micro darts, because those are really good at getting those kind of under the surface spots that aren't quite coming to a head. They kind of, I don't know, help treat them a little bit better. So I do plan to pick up those, and acne products are something that you can use your FSA dollars on if you have an FSA account. So you're already using money that you spent basically, which is nice. Okay, so the last two things here, I have two fragrances, both of which are kind of pretty ubiquitous at this point, but I thought I would let you know my thoughts since we are exploring all the items I do have. So the first thing is the Philosophy Amazing Grace
Eau de Toilette. Philosophy says that this is feminine, beautiful, clean. Amazing Grace by Philosophy is always appropriate, soft, and feminine. A scent that never offends and is praised by women everywhere. So this is a soft floral. The top note is bergamot. The middle is muguet blossoms, which I think is the same thing as lily of the valley. And then the base is musk. What I like to do for these is just to dip a little bit into the vial, and the like capillary action kind of draws it up the paper. These vials, while maybe not as ideal for sampling purposes, if you do get enough of them, you could decant them into like an atomizer or something that you get from Amazon, so you're kind of creating your own little travel spray. So when I was going through my perfume samples, I think I came across like 5 or 6. So I'm not sure how many of those it would take to fill a travel atomizer, but anyway, just something to consider. Yeah, I can't say this is my favorite. I mean, it's just kind of like a powdery floral. Kind of smells like what your grandmother's bathroom might smell like to me. Which, hey, there's a time and a place for that if you're into it. But anyway. All right, so that one is Philosophy Amazing Grace. And then this one is Lancome La Vie est Belle Eau de Parfum. And La Vie est Belle is French for Life is Beautiful. It blends fresh spring iris with decadent spun sugar and warm vanilla for a floral gourmand scent that inspires your path to happiness. So they say it is an energizing gourmand floral made to express happiness. Complex and modern, it is a unique take on a floral, warm and spicy fragrance with a sweet gourmand twist. And I thought this was interesting because I hadn't seen it before. It says the perfume bottle captures the essence of happiness represented in the shape of a smile at the base, and is further brought to life with the expression of Julia Roberts' iconic smile. So I never really thought of that before, but that's interesting. So the top note is iris, the middle is patchouli, and the base is spun sugar and warm vanilla. So let's give this one a spray. Yeah, I like this one more. To me, this smells more like a perfume. I mean, it almost smells like kind of a typical perfume though. Like if you walked into like the perfume section of a department store or like a duty free or something like that, this is kind of like what it smells like. So it's nice. I don't find it objectionable. I just don't find it kind of very interesting either. I mean, if I smelled this on someone, I'd be like, okay, that smells nice, but I wouldn't like crave the smell or anything. I mean, admittedly, I'm not like a huge vanilla person. I know a lot of people go crazy for vanilla, but not really my cup of tea necessarily. Okay, so that is the end of the demo portion. I guess I will, am I getting lipstick on my teeth? Probably. All right, so, you know, I gave you my thoughts as we went through. I think if I had to recommend anything strongly, other than the items I mentioned I was interested in, I think, you know, the Clinique Concealer was kind of surprising, to be honest. I mean, it's creasing a tiny, tiny bit, but I mean, it's the kind of thing where you really have to kind of contort your eyes. So yeah, so that was kind of surprising, maybe worth looking into. The Tarte Shape Tape, I think, I mean, that's just so shade specific. So I'll link the other videos I've done, but as someone who has dry skin, I did wear this again recently. I thought it was a nice light coverage foundation, even for someone on dry skin for the summer months. Like, it did a good job of not transferring. I know when I first reviewed it, it was in the winter, so, you know, my skin was a bit more dehydrated then. I would recommend spending $40 on that product though, especially when Tarte has so many sales of its own. And they do have travel sizes in 6 shades for $15. So if your shade happens to be in the travel size, maybe give that a go. The ABH foundation I was always kind of ambivalent about. And the Estee Lauder, I don't think the shades that I have are good. The powder was a little bit surprising. Admittedly, like the packaging I have, I found it a little bit hard to pick up just due to the nature of the size of it. And the air conditioning has been off for probably over an hour at this point, so it is getting a little bit warm in here. The brow pencils are fine. That's just not my preferred type of brow product. The bronzer I think is okay if you like a more radiant bronzer. I think I prefer something a little bit more matte and a little bit more cool toned, especially as we're heading into the fall and winter. But if you prefer something else, then you may like that. Tarte blushes are great, especially if you have oily skin and deeper skin. Like I mentioned, there are a couple shades I think that you may really enjoy. But even if you have dry skin or lighter skin like I do, I think, you know, they have some gorgeous shades that are very pretty. Highlighter, the Shape Tape I would recommend skipping. The Becca highlighters, I mean, it's a Becca highlighter. So I think the Moonstone shade is really the best out of the ones that I have. I'm kind of tempted to get the Rose Quartz shade, but I don't know. I don't wear this type of highlighter all that often, so I don't know if it would be worth it. The Urban Decay Eye Primer I think is a very solid eye primer. I would, did I just get, I think I accidentally sprayed this or something, so it's looking a bit speckled. But anyway, the LORAC palettes I think are definitely worth checking out if you like the color story. You get a lot of different shades for the money, and it's a pretty compact palette, all things considered. So yeah, I think, you know, both the mattes and the shimmers are very solid. It just depends whether you like that kind of more foily, thicker texture in your shimmers. The lashes, I mean, obviously the lash adhesive or liner was a bit of a fail, but the lashes themselves, you know, I think are fine. MAC lipsticks, I mean, it's a MAC lipstick. You've probably experienced them. The NARS lip balms are nice, especially for like a purse lip product, but they're not going to give you a lot of color. So maybe just take that into account. And if you do want to pick one up, maybe just pick up one instead of several. Skincare, I think I've already kind of talked to death here. Yeah, maybe look at the Foreos. I do like a waterproof makeup remover, but maybe the Sephora one would be a better choice. I don't plan on purchasing either of these. I don't think I mentioned earlier because I got distracted, but the First Aid Beauty face cleanser, I found it interesting because I've watched both of the like Ulta 21 Days of Beauty videos from Morgan Turner and Teresa's Dead. And Morgan Turner was saying, like, you know, they give this cleanser out like candy, like it's everywhere, so she feels like she'll never have to purchase it. And Teresa's Dead was saying like, oh, I want to purchase this because I've heard good things, I want to try it. So I just found that interesting. Yeah, I do plan on getting the Zitstickas like I mentioned, and the eye creams. I don't think there's anything super remarkable about the Belief eye cream. I think the Clarins eye cream, it's won some awards like Allure Best of or whatever, and I think Shelly from Geek Out of Water has mentioned that she's been using it like for a long time now, and she basically doesn't wear concealer anymore because it's helped so much with her dark circles. You know, and I've used it off and on, and I don't know, I tend to go for moisture more with my eye creams, and then I'll use cosmetics for like color correction and cancellation, but I don't know, I just thought I would mention that in case you wanted to take into account. So that is going to do it for this Ulta 21 Days of Beauty video. Let me know if you like this format. I kind of mixed it up a little bit from last year where I did a dedicated video for each week. But anyway, I just figured I would try something new this year. So if you did enjoy this, please subscribe if you haven't already. I hope you guys are all doing well and staying safe, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.